Buddha might be in the way, or are we just gonna go inside and do it?
It's you know, if you want to smoke, we can't smoke inside.
Well, I can walk outside, or we can take it with us.
I mean,
What happens on the
that's
grill?
gonna be too far.
No, you get us on the grill.
Yeah, because we do need gravity. Gravity.
Yeah, we do need gravity. Gravity helps. And aren't the cameras supposed to be up?
Yeah.
Hang on, let me maximize. Okay. What is? I'm afraid to touch the microphone. I mean, I'm guessing people can hear us. I have no way. How do I know? Maybe one of you could
I'm
go
gonna
on
go
it.
to
Yeah,
it.
okay. See, I'm not hot at all.
I should get a pretty one. Well, your
You
hormones
should.
aren't bothering
No.
you.
You like being in the sun, Charlie? He's like, I'm awake. I'm awake. So cute. Such a cute.
Well, yeah.
You can hear me.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Are we introducing ourselves or just jumping in?
I think we can jump in.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who we are.
Right, of course they do. Who doesn't know who we are?
I mean, I am a little known.
A little known.
Yeah. A
A
little.
little bit of a public figure.
Yeah. Not within a certain region of Florida.
Yes.
You know, maybe.
So tell us about Atlanta.
Oh,
That's exciting.
gosh. So, well, first, it was my first time flying since like maybe a year prior to the before the pandemic even started. So it's my first time flying. You know, with everything, Atlanta being such a hot spot during this entire pandemic for any and everything. So I'm like on alert, high alert of flying for multiple reasons.
Who's coughing? What was that noise?
Like, but you know, when I got on the flight, like when I was pulling off, I had this sense of freedom. I felt like, you know, okay, Sarahca, you can do this. You can travel. You can go after your dreams. You can do this and still, you know, be a mother. And I started thinking about my son, and I like started crying because now I'm leaving. It's my first time, like actually.
Oh, and leaving him, right?
Leaving the baby, like that. So, and I ended up leaving him with my daughters because his father ended up not, you know. We'll get into that another time. People, single mothers, and you know, it's a whole nother. But ended up not being able to go come and get him. So my daughter ended up, my daughters and my brother ended up, you know, watching him because they're
very good.
They're good. They're so good with him. And when I got there, I was just amazed at how many people were outside. You know, like
it's so weird. I was
amazed.
The whole thing is weird. And the first time I flew after, I really didn't want to, and I was dreading it. But I can remember walking down the jetway and being like, oh, you know. And there was like something about it, like this is cool, right? Like that freedom again. Yeah.
It felt it, but then you know you definitely. My father always tells me when I do speak with him, like keep your head on a swivel. That's something he always says.
I love that.
And it's like, and I realized like how it really is, and it's not that I wanted to, or I experienced that time there, you know, paranoid or looking over my shoulder. I did enjoy myself, but I was also conscious of where I was and what of the times that I'm in.
Yes.
But my initial reason, definitely for going there, was the conference for women who cannabis.
What a play on words.
Yeah, right. So it was wholly focused on women of color in the industry, which is, you know, less than women account for less than 3% in the cannabis industry. Black women account for less than like 1%.
And what percent of the women serving jail time for cannabis use
Right. And
are Black women?
yeah. And I went to
I'm guessing it's way more than
I
3%.
it's when you look at the statistics of just around it and far as where we are, I'm not like I'm not angry about it. I just know this is where we are right now with it, to where now I want to be a part of the solutions that are coming about, because we know what, the issues are. And those of us who don't know, it's on those of us who know to educate, but also for us to be interested in getting educated about
You know what? I like that, because it's nobody's saying like ignore history.
Right.
But there is a holding a grudge to the point where you become dysfunctional because you can't move forward. Because you're still hanging on to like somebody didn't say they were sorry 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is an excellent segue into friendship, I think.
Right.
Right? And
True.
And what happens, and the funny thing is, right, the typical thing you hear is that women never forget, like, do you remember on Saturday, the 12th of August in 1998, when you didn't like the way my hair looked, right? And that they never forget that shit. And men have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know that that's true, but that's like the whatever.
But I want to make a distinction here, because there's one thing about not moving past something. There's one thing about someone saying they're sorry and you accepting the apology. But the truth of the matter is that if I push you and you fall down and break your arm, and I'm sorry and you accept the apology, there is still a time that you need for your arm to heal.
Yes.
And there's nothing about you forgave me, if we moved on, but your arm is still healing. And I think that that's part of what we see. I'm not disagreeing with you that I think that there is a certain amount of holding on to things and not moving forward, but there is also a piece that there really is a healing that needs to happen, and there is a process for that healing.
Yeah. Like, for whatever reason, a person may be holding a grudge. People always remember what was done to them versus what they did to someone else. And when we hold on to stuff for whatever reason, holding on to it doesn't take away from the fact that there's pain there that was caused by either yourself or someone else, and you need time to process that. And I don't think we give people process hurt. I think we think because we had the conversation.
Now it's all fixed.
That we, the conversation. When, healing is a journey. And it's going to require you finding out why did that offend me, hurt me, bother me? What about me does that trigger?
Because other people wouldn't have been hurt.
Yeah, like there's and we can't.
Or they may have been, but for different underlying reasons.
Or they really just didn't bother them. I mean, different people, right?
Yeah, or
Find
and
certain
different
things
things.
hurtful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not at all. No, I don't think for me when it comes to friendship, I'm in a very good place with friendship, because I think I work on being a friend to myself more now.
That's interesting, and that's really important.
It's making me, it's giving me a different perspective of friendships around me, because I ultimately think, how would that make me feel? Like how does
Empathy.
Whatever
what we try to teach our kids.
How would that make me feel? And then also finding out that feeling, identifying what that I feel that, because we all experience hurt. We just experience it differently. It's like these we all experience them. It's just in and identifying the trauma or the pitfalls that hold us there for whatever reason is, I think, where we have to start. And that's not a group discussion. That requires you doing some self-observation.
Well, it's a group discussion when you touch on issues like you need to get to the core of what triggered you. You need to get to the core of what, if you're the person that's inflicting the harm and have realized it, going, why did I do that? Where was that coming from? So that you can move forward, because those tools are almost universal. I mean, they are universal depending on where you are in your journey, right? Because not everybody's going to be introspective, and not everybody's going to be self-aware or analyze even what they're doing or what was done to them.
I mean, I guess for us, those of us who are on the journey of healing, we learn different methods to healing, and some may work, some may not work. We don't all have,
like everything else. Everybody's different. It's like finding a therapist that works for you, and there are therapists that you might do great with that person, and then I go and I'm like, oh, we have this is not going to work for me.
Yeah,
I think it's a similar thing.
When I want to touch on when you're saying about friendships and how the reasons we lose friendships or relationships don't work. And I honestly, I think I've come to a place where friendships are so important to me that I'm willing to be wrong all the time, because I know that when I'm wrong about something, I'm also being corrected. And love is correction is part of love. Like I'm putting myself in a place to where, okay, I'm okay with being wrong all the time if you need me to be. But I'm not in a place where I'm not allowing myself to know that this person got some stuff they need to be responsible for, and I'm okay with us not talking anymore till you figure it out, and there not be anything me holding on to anything. It's just I'm gonna accept that, hey, I'm not helping you grow right here right now, so I'm gonna remove myself from it, because maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm the enabler, maybe I'm not able to push this, so I'm gonna remove myself so that you can grow, and me too.
But when you go back, I'm gonna go back to I'll be wrong 100% of the time if that's what you need or whatever. What do you mean by wrong? Like, allow them to sort of say this is on you, or I'm not.
When I say wrong, like if a person feels like, for instance, a quick story. I had a friend of mine who reached out to me about her husband was running for office. And she reached out to me about bringing him on Porch Life. Remember, I was doing Porch Life, and it was streaming.
I love Porch Life.
So, I had put it out there that I was, going to talk to some candidates so that I can, get
in good conscience,
know where I'm going with it and who I'm voting, because part of that platform that I created with Porch Life was about me really telling my side of the story after I've done the research.
Right.
Like, I'm not just, blindly giving out information here.
Because, he's my friend.
Yeah.
Husband.
So I said to her, that, I'm going to have some other candidates that also running against him. I reached out to them and they want to come. So they didn't feel like, the husband reached out to me and said, he didn't understand why I was bringing another person on. Like, where's the loyalty? So then this is where me, Sarahca, who ain't always there, right? Like, I had to really pray, because first he's a pastor, and then also he's my friend's husband,
right?
So I wanted to be very careful about how I move forward, but I knew where I stood. I wasn't going to budge on it. Right. So I said, he says, where's the loyalty? I said, okay, listen, I don't owe you a loyalty. The wife. And if it was her running, then it wouldn't be out because I know her character.
Okay.
I know I've worked with her.
Why would that
I
be?
I know who she is. She chose you as a friend and husband. I didn't. I don't know you. And then now when we're talking about you coming on and then me practically endorsing you for something, it's gonna require me to know you a little more versus me going and telling people, hey, this one I'm voting for, and me knowing that people listen to me when I say vote. So I have a responsibility.
Well, so that's interesting. So I think
the friendship's gone, by the way.
Is it?
It's gone.
Over that.
Oof. The friendship's gone.
Oof.
You know, and I'm okay with it because for one, I don't blame her for standing by her husband.
Right.
There's no blame. I completely understand.
So is that a case where you would say, like, I don't mind being wrong?
I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, but you're
to you, I'm wrong.
That I understand. You know? Now I understand it. You're just telling her, look, if you want to believe that I'm wrong about this, go ahead. Yeah. That's
and it's nothing to talk about. We don't have to discuss. I don't try to have to prove you right and prove me wrong. It's just this is an experience for me to know that there needs to be boundaries set with my friends on where they feel like they can impose
that
themselves.
I think is such an interesting example because I think it's so presumptuous, especially for somebody whose voice carries weight in the community, to ask you to sort of de facto endorse them. Like, I would find that a real imposition on the friendship. Abby, do you disagree?
It reminded me of, and it's probably completely off topic, but it's where my brain went. People who do the MLM and they pretend that you're their friends so that they can, shift it a little bit towards Sarahca because she's kind of on the corner there. Angle it down just a little bit more. There you go. And
that way?
Yeah, I think, let me see where your chair is. Yeah, I think that's good because she was a little bit out of frame.
Oh, sorry. All right, we're all there now, right?
Anyway, it just, people who use relationships for advancement and not for the purpose of the relationship annoys me. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, because they're users.
And but it's almost everyone that
But we all use each other for our resources. I think the issue becomes when you feel entitled to those.
Well, that's what you're talking about. But what I'm saying is that if I have a sincere relationship with you, and then from there we use each other to get to grow. I approach you, and I fake a relationship, or I have a pseudo semi. Let's say it's a semi-authentic relationship, but my only intention in approaching you was to get that business.
Oh my God! You know what this is?
That really bothers me.
This is those people that I graduated from high school with 40-some years ago. Who?
How are you doing? Would you like to buy some of this house cleaning product?
Yes, exactly. That is the classic example.
Yeah, but to this person's defense, it was actually a friendship over years.
But
no, but it wasn't. I'm talking about
the wife.
But
I lost the friendship. But I lost the friendship with the wife. I don't care about him.
Right. But that's a different
story.
But
it was the man that was asking for the endorsement.
But then
the wife. We lost friendship. I lost the friendship.
Because she asked you to endorse the husband and you were not.
Well, no, there was never, those words weren't used. She asked me to bring him on to Porch Life, which is my show. And I agreed.
Right.
And then in me thinking about my production of the show, the platform, I decided to talk to more candidates, not just one. I didn't want to give that.
You didn't want to seem like that you were not being objective.
Right. Because I'm also a community activist.
Right.
So I'm very critical of what's not being done, and that means I have to hold everyone accountable and ask these questions. I'm not making this be something where my friend is running, so vote for her. That's not where I stand on any issue. So for me, that was my reason, and I never got the opportunity to say this because to the husband, when I was saying, okay, listen, this is how I'm going to do it, he was coming, I'm just trying to see where the loyalty is. That was his words, because
Right.
he said
very
he and his
presumptuous.
wife spoke
Yeah.
about it, and that was it. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I said, but this is what I'm going to do. So either you can do it or you're not. And I didn't decide to go into a conversation with him because, one, you're not my friend. Two, I don't owe you any
Anything.
loyalty. And thirdly, like, this is my show, so I can do what I want to do.
Well,
I built this platform.
I would take it a step further, I think. If I had a good friend who was running, even if I knew her well for years and admired her character, what I understood what she was about, and I had that kind of platform, I would still sort of feel compelled to talk to the other candidates, even privately first, right?
Right.
Because I don't know that I would support somebody just because they were my friend, because I have a lot of friends who I don't agree with politically, and maybe they wouldn't be who I'd vote for. I don't think I would actively go out against them, but I'm not sure that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
And
like
that's
that's
a terrible
and
thing
I
to take
didn't,
advantage of
because
that
then at that point, when people were asking me, my community, where I live, people really look to me for who to vote for, or issues, or anything in the community. So I take that very seriously. I'm not gonna blindly lead people somewhere when I don't know where you stand on certain issues.
Right.
And if I know that I'm going to say, hey, talk to you about you running and all of this, and people are going to listen, it doesn't matter if it's 3 people. That's 3 too many that I have a responsibility
Right.
to, other than the people in my household. So that carries a lot of weight to me. And for me, it wasn't it's for her. I get where she comes from. It's her husband. She has to stand by her husband, but I don't have to.
No.
And I respect you doing that for your husband, because maybe if I was in that situation,
Right.
I would do the same thing if it was my husband. I don't know. I don't have a husband. I've never been put in that position, but this is where I stand.
And this is something I struggle with. And I can remember Jane saying to me, and it just went so many head, not everyone can be you.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Absolutely.
spend a lot of time thinking about, I don't think I spend enough time thinking about what would I do in that situation. Or I just assume everybody's going to act like I am.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a big
But
mistake. A lot of us make.
That can be an issue. But the situation that I'm dealing with,
Yes.
which I'm hurting, and it and it does come a little bit from expecting people to maybe not be just like you, but to act at a certain level that you would expect.
And I also think, and this is, that butterfly is going to get nailed. I'm
You
just
know what?
waiting.
They come and they fly in here and then they go out. I don't know if they like it. Like, seriously, I
Right,
had
it gets
one
a
that
little
goes back
breeze.
in there
That's so
and
funny.
then they go right back out. There's so many butterflies out here.
I
It's
know,
really
it's so
kind of
pretty.
awesome.
But I have often made the mistake, and it is a mistake for sure, because I assume people are going to act like me, like responsibly and in good faith or whatever, that I can't even see it coming, that they don't, because it's unthinkable to me that they would do what they end up doing. Like, it doesn't even occur to me. It's like I can't even include that in my world.
Yeah, that's
Right.
not
Well,
how
and
you're made up.
and
No.
it would be for me very, very sad to think that, to expect people to behave poorly.
Badly.
Yeah, I need to expect a certain amount.
But I see so many people, it's kind of what we talked about before we got on camera, right? Who do sort of their worldview, MO, whatever you want to call it, like they assume kind of the worst intentions of people.
Yeah, there's a
Which
lot
I
of
think is a
people that
sad
do
way
that.
to live anyway. Like,
Yeah.
it's gotta be miserable.
It's
and
very.
stressful.
I think so.
Right, but then I don't know if there's people that are just not. They're just not aware. I mean, I don't know. I'm struggling with what's going on with me, and I'll give you like a very brief, because you don't know what happened. But I remember, and this is funny. I had an astrologer tell me many years ago, but it stuck with me, that I had an idea of friendship that was kind of like in kindergarten, where you go up to somebody and you say, and you take them by the hand and hold their hand and say, do you want to be best friends?
Mhm.
And then you were best friends, and that was it.
Oh my God, that's so you.
And it is
And
me.
it's your
And
12
it is-
imaginary
and,
friends. That is
well, and
totally
I had
you.
the imaginary friends besides that. But that's
Well, you were
a whole
practicing
other
on
story.
them until kindergarten.
Right. But so what happened recently, and trying to give you in a nutshell, is I have two friends. One is a very dear friend, and you know those people you count. I say two hands because I have two hands on people because I'm very blessed. One was one of those people, like one of my real people that I love dearly, and the other was her partner, and her partner by proxy. If I love you, then somebody you introduced to me, they get a fall out of that love too. You know what I mean? And
That's the overflow.
right, you get the overflow. And so this person, they had separated years ago, and then they got back together, and they were always friendly, and so I was always friendly, and I had no anyway. So this person, they start to kind of get back together, and in the interim, the partner gets her a real estate license, okay, and wholeheartedly, I gave of my time. I gave leads. I gave and leads that she closed and walked through contracts and walked through, issues with contracts or concerns with contracts, and spent a lot of my time and knowledge
Mhm.
with this person with no expectations.
Right. To the partner.
With no expectations
But
of
to the,
her.
no,
I
but
didn't.
you
I
gave
wasn't,
to
it
the
wasn't like,
partner.
oh, give me money. Nothing
Right,
like
but
that.
this, you
Nothing.
gave this to the partner.
To the partner, correct. And also was an ear and tried to be an objective mirror when she came to me a couple of times with personal issues and spent hours listening when we didn't have that relationship before. But again, no expectation of anything. One of those conversations was about my beloved friend was going to list her house.
Mhm.
And this person saying, oh, we had a fight about it because my beloved said that she was loyal to me and that she was going to list with me.
With you.
Right, with me, Abby. And the what was I calling her? The beloved, the beloved is my friend, and
The
her partner had the conversation with me, and I kind of tried to narrow it down to, what was this really about? Like what we were talking about before, Sarahca. What's it really about? What's below this?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the fear of not being, seen as important enough, or have not being respected or whatever. And I kind of set aside the issue about the real estate that had to do with me,
Right.
to try to be that objective person, right? Anyway, so in the interim, also my beloved's mother dies. Okay, this was very recently. And then I get a text from her partner saying, she doesn't want to hear from anybody right now. She doesn't want texts or calls or anything. And I'm trying to make this as short as possible, but you're not going to get all the information. Anyway, so I said, I get it, because when my mom died, I didn't want to be around anybody, whatever. I check in a little, a week later, and I say, hey, how are things going? Is it time to reach out? Oh, she was going to reach out to you. The partner tells me she was going to reach out to you. She reaches out to me. We try to get together. We set it's a couple days. She's like, can we do this Friday? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay. And then Friday I get a text. There's an emergency. She does, she's whatever. Has me kind of waiting, which I'm fine with. I'm like, I'm totally there whenever you want. Do you want me to just go over there? So, you can be there and anyway, it didn't work out. And then the next day, an invitation in the afternoon to go to dinner with a group, not her, not, hey, Abby, I'm in a crisis. Can you come over? But would you like to go out in a group? And I'm like, I'm committed to a 60th birthday. So here comes the issue. The next night at night, which I don't usually get texts or certainly don't respond to texts, I get a text saying, I'm going to list my house. I should have told you. Right. No. Yeah, from my beloved, my beloved. I should have told you this in person, but it's been hard to see you lately. And I'm going to list my house, and because this person is my partner, I'm going to list with this person.
Mhm.
Which is not her style of talking to me anyway, but also just the whole, like the little dig in there, I can't see you, which was not the case. Like when her mom was sick, I was missing food and taking it over there. And
Right, but it's like she was still irritated that you couldn't just go to that dinner.
I think it was just I think we find ways to justify that our behavior, and for her,
Oh, we totally did.
she, what do you want? You can't go over to the snack bar. No. Anyway,
We find ways to justify.
Yeah, we find ways to justify, and I guess that was one of hers. But to me, this was so much more about the relationship between the two of us, than it was about the listing. Because what's happened is the way that they treated it didn't allow for a lot of, like, it was I said, yeah, let's have a face-to-face, tell me when you're available, and I got back, okay, we can definitely have a face-to-face, but I'm firm on my decision. And it was just
as if you were going to try and convince her not to use
and
her
a lack
partner.
of acknowledgement of our relationship, of who we were to each other.
Well, how about, I treasure our friendship. I know and I'm grateful for all the time you've spent, but I've made the difficult decision or whatever.
There were 100 ways this could
say
have
it
been happened. And honestly, it should have been my beloved's partner that should have reached out and said, listen, we talked about this and blah, 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 blah. And it could have been, we can share a listing, I can get a referral, or I don't want to do any of that, but I want to acknowledge you and say thank you for what you've done, but I want to take this all to myself, which wouldn't have been nice, but at least it would have acknowledged all the time and all the effort that I put in to her and the relationship with my other friends. So I don't know if this was more about just destroying the relationship between me and my good friend, or just taking the listing. Mm-hmm. And so it's very hard to sit with that and say, I did a deep dive into this with a friend of mine, and there is part of that is there is the part, the listing part, that yes, I do depend on the people that I've worked for in the past, that I've done a good job for, to refer me to people, and also if they're going to have an agent, to use me. Yes, so there's the fear of, how am I going to pay my bills? Mm-hmm. That was in there. The big sadness and the big thing is the fear of being alone. Mm-hmm. I think of being, of losing your friends who you think are your friends. And getting emotional.
Well, and I think,
because it's like, I get it, because I do get that my friend was in a position where she could do much, but to be dismissed,
yes, it's so hard.
It was so painful.
So let me ask you something. I'm so sorry.
It's
okay.
I give you a hug.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I don't want to lose my friends.
Right. I know it. And I wonder, as I'm thinking about this, and Sarahca, you're in a different place in age-wise and kids-wise and everything else. But this is probably a natural consequence of aging. I think about this I might have, say, in my 30s. When time and people and all these other things seem sort of infinitely expandable, whether or not they were, right? Jobs, careers, money, because we had time to do all this. And the older we get, the less we have, and the less peers we have. I mean, forget dating. I mean, I can't. I'm trying to, I think I told you guys, and it's mostly the men in my life who are, when are you gonna date? Why can't you find? And I'm like, and I know very few women who have pushed me on that. And I think that is a man-woman difference, but setting that aside, as we age, we lose our family members, our friends die with this, that, the other thing. And maybe it becomes even more precious because it's a rarity issue, a scarcity issue, right? And a supply and demand. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have hurt as much in your 30s, but I think that there's all these other layers now that we used to have 30 people and now we have 20.
Layers and awareness. I think it's an awareness that the most valuable things are not things, and they are really the people and the love that we have in our lives. And to feel like, I don't think the love is gone, and I could be totally making up that our relationship won't survive this. And I think it will eventually, but I can't see a way where I just felt like the actions showed me that this person, my dear friend's partner, doesn't want me around, because it was, the tone and the way that it was done, and this doesn't look like,
Well, and that's sad
we
for
could carry
her.
on being
If that's the
it looked
case,
like.
that's sad for her because anybody who has a partner that isolates them, we all know what a red flag
Well,
that is.
we know,
Well,
but, but there's
before
nothing
you
we can
go
do about
there,
it.
Before you go there, I want to say that, Dawne spoke about my age and parts. Like, no, I don't like getting to know new people because I hate losing people. I'm very pulled back on getting to know people. Like, if it's just going to be business, I'm only going to talk to you business. I'm not going to try to find out how you're doing, check on your family, because I don't like losing people. And automatically, I think getting to know people, I'm having to weigh the risk of losing them. And not just through death, just life.
Yeah.
It may not happen, and that hurts. That feeling you have right there, that I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling. But and I wanted to say that because I know how you're feeling, but I also want to acknowledge the fact that when you have friendships that go, relationships, not just friendships, relationships that go through that come to a storm, that we often don't see a way forward because you're blinded by the hurt and you can't
I'm aware
see
of
it.
that. Yeah.
So I want you to know that you have to make a decision on whether it's worth salvaging. Because if it's worth salvaging, it's going to require very hard and tough conversations to address, is there an issue with your significant other? Because if that's just something you're thinking, you need to address that so that there can either be a confirmation or no, that's not what it is, and it opens up for what it really is. But those conversations, those opportunities, you're not ready for that opportunity, that conversation right now, and maybe she's not.
Let's see how that, let's imagine how that plays out. Let's assume, and this is not what I'm acting on. We're trying different paths here. So if I approach her and say, in whatever words, tactfully, I think that your partner is trying to separate you from people or has pushed you into a decision that is alienating me, and therefore I think you're with someone who maybe isn't looking after your best interests. How's that going to play out?
Well, but the thing is not about for me, it's not about how it's going to play out. It's about letting it play out.
Well, right,
because
which means not having the conversation, because she has to have that play out with her partner.
Right, but no, not for you. You don't have to hold that. You don't have to hold that relationship to be something that I'm gonna hold these feelings in to not lose a friend, when you're now gonna have an underlying issue in your friendship.
I just don't think that we're gonna be, I honestly don't, the way that I see it most realistically, knowing the variables that I know, and I know I don't know all of them, is that we will not be able to be close as long as she's with that
This
partner.
This broken arm
This-
isn't going to heal seamlessly.
Well, it's not my hurt.
No,
This
no,
is
I mean
about,
in general.
This is
I mean
about
all
that the
break
partner
that.
doesn't want me in that.
And you believe
Is there
that?
other issues? Is there a pattern behavior here
Right,
to
that's
make
what
you
I'm asking.
think
Are there
this?
other
Or
things in
is
the
this
past?
just an isolated event that happened and then it's making you think that? Because there's a difference between when you hurt me, there's a difference between you hurting me and this being an isolated event and it never happened versus it being a pattern behavior.
Right.
So then now I need to say, okay, this is who you are. If I've addressed it a couple times and it's not being taken care
I hear
of.
what you're saying, and it's certainly worth sitting with for sure.
Yeah.
She hasn't. I mean, so the partner's never done this to me before that I've seen.
Right.
However, I have seen the partner speak very. I mean, at the time, like in retrospect, I look back and I think about how the partner talked about another one of her friends and how she was not doing what the partner thought she should do, or just very, and making something really big that wasn't.
Right.
Which, in retrospect, looks more like this is kind of no. I don't think she's like. I don't think that this partner is trying to sit there and figure out how am I going to separate my friend from her friends. I think it's more of a natural response. Somebody that's not thinking things quite through. You know what I mean?
Well, and then she lost her mother, right?
My friend
Friends.
lost
Right, the
her
beloved.
mother.
Yes.
Yes, my beloved friend.
Yes, her mother.
mother.
So she's in a very emotional place right now, and
needs her partner.
Right, and that's who's closest to her. So
Right.
I'm
I
just,
can't step in and say
No,
anything about the
no,
partner,
no,
and I
no.
wouldn't anyway.
No,
you know?
you can't. I'm not. You can, but it wouldn't be.
No, it would not be.
I don't recommend
I
it.
don't recommend it, but I want you to. I would suggest that you sit with the idea of is this an isolated event, something that happened because of a Trump, something traumatic happened to your friend.
Right.
I don't think it was my friend that
No.
orchestrated this.
No, and I get
No, but your
that.
friend might be at a weak moment.
Right.
Yes.
Right, and she may be at a weak moment, but I don't want you to make it that's it. That's what it is. Like it's almost like you say I'm hearing that this is the friend's mate doesn't like me, and that's what the problem is. Where there may
I don't
be
even know if it's personal. I think it might just be
right,
partner wants friend all to.
So,
and
or partner wants the money.
and you guys are
And
having
partner
to
wants
look.
somebody, but I mean, again, there are 100 ways this could have played out, and this has been a couple of days, and I haven't heard from either of them.
But I
so it's
also
not like,
think-
oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
But I also
what
think
did I
part
think?
of what we all do, and it's maybe it's the converse or the flip side or whatever what I was saying, where I can't even comprehend that people are going to do something, so I
Right.
would never anticipate it. And I
Well,
would
that's
run for it.
exactly what happened to me.
Right, but I think that part of this is all of us to varying degrees we expect people to act like we do and to be like we are.
Well, I don't expect it to be at that level. But this is like way, like this
No,
is
but
way below the belt.
but that's what I'm saying.
You know,
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
like-
But that's what I'm saying to varying degrees. We think that, like, I used to have this thing a lot when I was a kid. Not so much now that I'm older. But I used to spend time, like serious time, trying to imagine what it would be like to be like in someone else.
Well, yeah.
You know what I
I was
mean?
an actor, so I get that.
Right.
And
But I mean, like-
I think you need to lower that. I think it's like I'm the only one in camera.
It's
There you go.
no, I'm terrible at this. It's no, but I would do like it was maybe that is an acting thing. I did acting in high school and that was it. But it was more about like somebody I knew, and let's say they were 5'10", right? And I'd be like, I wonder what it would be like to be like up here when I'm at the kitchen counter, and like, what's it like in your head? Like, what do you see when you look at that bush that is, I don't know, it was strange, and I
Right.
freak myself out sometimes about it.
Right. Well,
You know?
you
Is that
know what? I had
method
something
acting? Is that
similar.
what that's called?
Well, kind of. But you have to imagine
Yourself
what
in
your
there, right.
life would be like.
Right, but
if
I would
you
do like
were
the
tall
physical, but I
or-
would do,
well, there's a physicality.
Yeah.
What would it be like if I couldn't use my right arm, or what would
Right,
it be
right,
like?
right, right.
But I used to do a similar thing. Like, I wonder, I see red, and what I call red, I wonder if it's the same thing that when she sees
Right,
red,
right, which is so
is
freaky,
it the
right?
same?
Sarahca, do you ever
yeah.
do that? Do you ever imagine yourself like in somebody else's earthly presence?
Yeah, I think we all do. I have conversations. I literally have conversations with people before I have conversations.
Oh my God, I
Well,
do that
that's
all
what
the
we're.
time.
That's kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
with
like-
my situation.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're
I
working
think,
through
and
this.
and that is what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Because sometimes we're about the seat of our pants, we let shit fly out that
Oh yeah,
we really.
I down and I
Yeah.
have notes, but what I used to do the exact opposite. I mean, all my life, you have these challenging clients or coworkers or whatever. And I worked right outside of DC, and I lived in Laurel, Maryland, which could take anywhere from 25 minutes to 3 hours to get home. It was freaking ridiculous. And I would spend much of the ride home having imaginary, like,
Mhm.
redoing those conversations in an imaginary way. And I would play all the parts like in the
I've
car.
stopped doing the redos because I can't redo, but I can do.
Right.
I've started
But see-
to having the follow up question. I used to do
But
that.
for me, like, and I used to think, like, people driving by me, like the other commuters, must have thought I was nuts. Like, this was way before cell phones or anything. Because I'm in the car and, like, I'm animated, like I always am, and I'm this person, that person. And most of the time in those redos, I would have this perfect, like, cutting comeback, that made everything clear. And, but what I found, I actually found that really therapeutic. Because by the time I got home, it was out of my system and I was done with it.
Freud calls that secondary gratification.
There you go. That's a perfect
Who
way to
calls
put
it that?
Freud.
Second, I've never heard that.
Secondary gratification.
Yeah.
Yes. And before we move on to something, because this has brought up another topic that we might, delve into at some point, which is, do you okay to have a certain set of values? And I know you guys are going to say no. With your friends.
Wait, you're
And then
you're
a
projecting.
different, but okay, that's true. I'm thinking everybody's gonna be. Is it okay to be one way with your friends, and then if business or money comes in, do you change your values?
Ooh.
Okay, good. That's what I was on the phone with while I was sitting out in the car,
Uh-huh.
and I had a friend. We had a show, and a friend of mine who's also was a vendor at one of my events. She came to me and she's like, "I lost a product. Somebody took it. Like it was here. It took it. It's like $100." And I'm sitting
Oh
here
my God.
and I'm thinking like, okay, but they were stickers. So I'm thinking like, okay, no. I'm scanning the room for a sticker taker. Like, who would take stickers? And $100 worth of it too.
A
So
sticker
like,
stealer.
are you about to get on your sticker hustling, whatever? I'm thinking of it.
we
Meanwhile,
do this.
yeah. Meanwhile, I have a business partner that I'm in it with. So I take it to him because as we're reconciling the day, the reports and everything, I'm like, okay, well, this is something we need to cover. He felt like, yeah, no, I don't see that, but if you think we should do it, then okay. So we split it, send it, right? This was like a month. This was last month that we did this for the last show. And over the weekend, I got a $50 Cash App with a note saying I found them. So she ended up finding them. And when I talked with him about it, he was like, I'm glad I took your lead on that because I would have said, like, it's your loss. But she's also a friend, a mentor of mine. And what I took from it was that I don't separate who I am from my business. I am working towards teaching and myself and those who do business with me how to do business with me, even if you don't like me, even if we don't have the same values. There's a way to do business. So if you have a problem with me or anything that I do, we can address that. But business is numbers. Does it make sense or do it not make sense?
Well,
do it make money? Or
I
do it not
think
make
that
money?
for me personally, I think he's on the word values, right? I think of values as sort of immutable. Like my values are my values, and that's like when I taught, and
But
I
people
think
have
about
different
this.
sets for friendship
Well,
and
that's
business.
what I think is
Of
bizarre.
course, yeah.
But so when I taught, I used to try so hard to be a different person when I taught because I knew that who I am made it harder in some ways to teach teenagers. And I wanted to be a different kind of person than I was. And I think partly because it was teaching and you're physically in there with them for 7 hours a day, it's a very, very hard charade to keep up. I could not do it. It was not possible. I could put back to myself. But I think about all the people who are terrible criminals in the real world, right? Whether they're actual criminals or civil, business people who end up, whatever. They're just not good people, but they're wonderful. And I think about men when I think about this, and I'm sure there are women too, but it seems more of a male thing. Although maybe again I'm projecting. I don't know. That are wonderful, like husbands and fathers and family men, and absolute terrible people in the business world,
and
right? And have very different values.
But take it a step further. Not only say that they are wonderful fathers, husbands, whatever, and they're also good friends. But then if there's a business deal, they wouldn't
in the friendship.
And a friend with a business deal, and they'll still use aggressive or tactics that are not okay.
Well, I think that part of that is one of the reasons that people don't mix business with friends.
But if
Because
my
I
values
think
are the
it's-
same all across,
Yeah,
then
but-
I shouldn't have that.
No.
anymore.
Yes, but
Always
that's what I'm saying. Like you're gonna we have to teach people boundaries around us, and that has to be something that you can stand on, whether you're in church or at a grocery store, or
That's what I say.
It has to be, and I think we haven't done that because we've adopted these cliches as don't mix business with like this shit is impossible because when you're married, you're in a business arrangement. Okay, that's a business arrangement. That's why we see so many marriages and people struggle with how to deal with finances and how to go about and separate, because you have decided to join your lives together, and that requires that is everything. That's money, that's business, that's everything. So then when it becomes this is no longer a mutual understanding of our agreement, we have to separate, it gets nasty because we've been one way when we're in a relationship and then a different way when we're in business, so we're not understanding how to deal with each other. I want to be fair whether I'm in a relationship with you or in business with you, and anytime you're in business with someone, what's good for me may not be what's good for you.
But even if you're on the same page.
Even if we're on the same page, it's just compromising at this point. If I'm gonna
Okay. Well, first I want to say business and pleasure, you don't want to mix them at the same time.
No.
That's the way I would think of it,
No.
because you might get giddy with your pleasure and not make the accurate decisions of anybody. But going back to the situation with the partner here who felt it was okay to take over, someone who helped them on a personal level, helped them professionally as a human being, helped them also on a friendship level, but decided it's okay because this is just business. Let me take this business from her.
But I do think you're ascribing a lot of her internal dialogue to what you think it is, when there could be a million.
But
other
I'm
things.
using it as a hypothetical,
Right.
even though this happened. But hypothetically, maybe that was her thought process. I don't know what her thought process was, but it's one way of looking at how she justified.
It's one, but there could be
the
100.
behavior.
Yeah, but the problem comes when we have this one way of looking at it and we make our feelings align with that one way of looking at it. We're not giving ourselves we're not allowing ourselves to feel the different feelings that may come with what's happening. we've attached this feeling to.
You know what it reminds me of? And you know, because I read way too many serial killer and detective novels. They zero in on a suspect, and then they disregard or put less weight on conflicting evidence because they've already decided
that this
Right.
is this
Right.
is what it
Confirmation bias
is.
or whatever that's called.
we're trying, well, in this case, I'm trying really hard to sit with it
Right.
and be open to whatever the possibility, but that is a possibility,
Right.
that there was a different set of values for
And
friendship.
I'm wondering, and I'm
business.
thinking about maybe a way to approach, if and when you decide to do so, is, you know, I was taken aback, and, you know, because you're always supposed to use I statements, right? Like, I felt like it made me, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I was taken aback by the text and not really, you know, struggling. I'm just thinking out loud here. Struggling to understand the motivation, or if there's something else going on behind it that I should know, and would love to have a further conversation about this, right? Because I think
But
that
I
is.
don't think
Or-
I should, because I don't want to open a can
or-
of worms. I can't talk about the partner. I can't.
Or
I can't even say
Mm.
what all went on with the partner, because that gets in between their relationship.
Not really, because it was all three of you.
I think it
but
gets in their
or
relationship.
I would say this, that okay, I would say approaching it from what the friendship means to you.
Oh, I like
Approach
that.
it to
Oh, absolutely.
approaching Dawne. We've been friends for 7 years. You have been there for me through up and down with my family. When friends I thought would be there wasn't there, you stood in the paint. You proved time and time again you are a good person and you are a friend to me. I value this friendship. I want this
Absolutely.
friendship. I need this friendship. But I understand also if this is a time where we have to pause and see what direction our friendship
Oh,
is
I
going.
like
I'm
that.
not. Well, no, I'm not. I don't want to pause the friend. I don't want to make it me make a pause. You know what I
Well,
mean?
no,
But what I agree with everything up until there. You know, I love you. I was, and like you said, I was surprised. I was hurt. And I also want you to know that I love you deeply, and I'll always be I will always have a soft place for you to land. That's all I'm gonna say. Pretty
well,
much.
well, I think
Because-
you, but see, with
But isn't that gonna open
yeah,
a can of
that's
worms?
No,
because-
how does that open a can of worms?
let me tell you why. Because it's saying you're gonna fall flat on your ass when
No,
this guy.
I-
Like, that's what I heard.
Oh,
That's what I heard.
Okay,
Abby.
but her
Not thinking
mom-
about it that
That's
way.
what I heard.
Her mom just died, so this is all about supporting her all through it. But okay, I'm gonna
That's-
take
that's
that into
what I
account,
heard,
and
because-
however I put it in there. But I'm not gonna say I want to pause the relationship.
No, but I'm not saying
I'm always
even
here for
across,
you. I'm
like-
always, you know.
saying that creating this moment where there is based on love. Like this, while
And it
I'm
is.
talking to you, the reason I'm talking to you right now is solely based on love. Let's start from there, because when we focus on the love, it allows for
Right.
grace to enter. Because now I'm able to say, like, you know, you remember that time I was out there being an ass and you came and slapped me on? Like, we're able to talk
Right.
about all of that. So we're able to see times where we have gone through something and
Right.
gotten through.
Right.
So this may be another one that we
Well-
need to get through, but we gotta address it, because when we don't address
Oh,
it,
that's bad, because then it comes out in.
yeah, it comes out in other ways, and then now you're like you're arguing over the toothpaste.
Right. Yes.
Like you're
Yes.
arguing over, or and you.
Okay, so maybe the problem that I had with what you said was that you said maybe our relationship needs to pause. 'Cause
Well, no,
I
I'm not.
I
You don't want to
that.
pause.
I
No,
just
no,
want.
I was just
want to
speaking
say,
on-
you know, I just want to say I'm here whenever you need me.
But this is a pause.
Well,
you don't
wait. I don't know though. So I'm not sure that there's a reason to think that the friendship is paused at all because she's not going to use you for a business deal.
It's not because she's not going to use me for a business deal. It's because of the way that she addressed it.
But that's that. But I think you're conflating things. but what she addressed was only about the business deal. There was nothing in there about the friendship.
In itself is about the friendship.
To you.
The omission.
To you.
No, yeah. I mean, the tone, the omission of any.
And this was a text message?
Yeah.
But that
Okay,
could
but
just be
then-
her communication.
But then, no, and then not
If I
only that,
compare it to any of her other text messages, which are flowery and filled with emojis and X's and O's, I'm like,
but
Well,
she's
maybe she
also
was
going through,
uncomfortable.
she's
Yes.
also going through a time where she's not feeling very emoji.
okay, but the
Yeah.
less than 24 hours before, it was emojis and X's and O's.
Yeah, but you know how grief
But
is. It's moment to moment.
I know. I don't.
I get it. You're hurt. And your feelings
am
are
hurt.
valid. Your
I
feelings
am
are
hurt.
very
I'm
valid.
not. It's not even about my feelings. I'm trying to look at the actions, and the actions were that the text was very cold.
Ask yourself this. Do you think she did it intentionally?
Honestly, I don't. I think that it was
Do you
I
think
don't-
she
I don't
set
think
out
it
to
was her.
intentionally hurt you?
no, but I think she knew it was going to be hurtful.
Do you think she wrote it or do you think the other one did?
Exactly.
So that's what you want to know.
I don't want to know. I don't need to know because there's a whole thing going on there that I can't mess with.
Well,
See,
we're,
you know,
we're,
I think
we're choosing not to know.
I think
well,
for
I'm
the
not-
reason
reason
that
or
a
not,
boundary, I think that needs to be said if this is a boundary that is being created.
I think I'm trying to respect the boundary of that relationship. And I think that me going
Listen,
with
women-
saying, oh, you know, I did all this or I did all that for that person, and then they repaid me like this.
Oh, I don't think you
need
have to say any of that.
No, you don't have to say that, but that's what you're thinking, that's what you're feeling.
Mhm.
You don't have to say it because it's obvious. We don't have to say things to
Well,
people who,
things are not always obvious.
oh my
That's-
gosh, they're I mean, but we're talking about your friend, Abby, of how many years?
10, 12.
Who I'm pretty sure you've shared some very intimate, you guys know
Absolutely.
each other. There isn't a slight idea that this person is oblivious to how you are. Like she knows.
Like,
This
she
person might be
demonstrated-
oblivious to her partner.
And only sees one side of the partner.
Well, no, but I can understand like that, and that brings me like with the situation with the friend of mine who chose her husband. You know, I can't be mad you chose her husband because guess what? I'm not gonna do what he do for you.
That's exactly
I'm
what
not
that's
gonna
what
do
I'm,
that.
that's
So
what
I
I'm saying.
struggle with it.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
have always struggled with this, and I think it goes back to adolescence when you had that one friend. Maybe we all had them, maybe it was just some of us, but it seemed like in any group of, say, 10 girls, right? 10 teenage girls, there was
Mhm.
always at least the one who would friggin' throw anything over for the boy, who would cancel plans with you at the last minute, who would put up with shit, and that has always made me insane.
Well, then you don't pick that as a friend. But if I
Yeah.
pick you as a friend and I know that every time I need something, your partner is going to be above me, and I still pick you, I picked you and I have to deal with that.
I guess,
and I pick my
yeah,
friend.
that's true.
Yeah,
I pick my friend.
But I think if
I pick my friend and I understand. I understand
Well,
where
this is part of my
she's coming
problem
from.
with, again, not everybody can be me, but I want them to be me.
But am I worried? Oh, absolutely. What's
Oh, I'm
worse
worried
than
about that
what's
too.
worse than knowing nothing? What's worse than knowing nothing about
Right.
something?
Right.
yeah, because you're
Knowing
not.
a little
this
bit.
much of it.
And that's exactly what she's
Yeah.
putting her greatest asset into that.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the questions that I got from, I mean, it. So
Well,
I'm
in the
concerned on
extreme
many
event-
levels, but I can't
Yeah.
be concerned
No.
about
In
that.
the extreme
She's a
event,
grown up.
you see it with somebody who's in a relationship where there's domestic violence. And
But
so
there's
many
a
times
difference-
you end up the one that gets blamed for things, and it's
Yeah,
hard.
but that would be a different call. If I see somebody physically in danger, that's a different call. That's a
Well,
different
maybe if you don't
conversation.
see them in it, but you know it's happening.
Right, it's a different
It's
call.
hard.
It's a different call.
I think all.
I think it
all
is.
of
But the
it is-
signs, somebody who draws a tight circle around those are the warning signs of the
Oh,
escalating abuse.
But not necessarily. Some people are just manipulative
And
or controlling,
I know,
and they're
but
not.
we can't predict.
Yeah, but you
And then
can't
you-
assume.
No,
That
but then you
because-
say something. In that case, like I most of the time, like I don't say anything because it doesn't tend to. And well, I've learned not to say anything because it doesn't tend to end well.
Well, I've had a friendship that I wouldn't say it was over a boy, but they thought it was over a boy.
Mm.
And for me, I'm not a person who I'm not the type of woman who will take a male's word, my partner's word, just because he's my partner over
Right.
my I can be neutral, and I can say, okay, well, you're my companion, and this is my friend, and I need both these relationships, so y'all gonna have to figure out how to get along, because I'm not choosing, and I'm not gonna do this between we gonna figure out how to make that.
So let
work.
me ask: do you worry for her, like, emotional safety going forward with this partner? Do you have any concerns?
Perhaps.
So I'm asking that because I'm wondering if one way to approach this is to let her know that I'm not going to say it right, but hopefully you get the idea. That she'll always have you and she doesn't have to feel like she can't come to you because she chose him over her.
That's why I said the soft space to land. But
Yeah.
you guys always have a shoulder for you. I
Well,
don't know.
maybe
Something. I
a way
haven't
to say
figured out
it.
what I'm
Maybe a
gonna
way to
say.
say it is, I really, hope or something that we can continue to always be there for each other as we have been for so long. Because then you're not saying, I know you're gonna fall on your ass. You're saying we all fall on our ass and we can count on each other to pick each other up. Maybe that's a way to say it that won't make somebody
Abby's
defensive.
looking at actions right
Right?
now.
But that's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Right,
Because when you put yourself when you say
that's
we,
that's a good way to say it. I mean, in essence, all I really want to convey when I want to be authentic, so I'm going to say I was hurt, I was surprised, but I love you, and our friendship is the most important thing to me, and I'm always here for you.
Yes.
Without it sounding like I think you're gonna jump off a cliff, and I'm
A safe place to land sounds reckless.
Okay, then
And-
that might not be. I
Yeah,
right, but I think there's a way to work in that we will have each other's back.
Yeah, and that might be.
Time to go in and get food. Are we bringing this? Yeah. It's gonna any second because we're in
Well, I don't
Florida.
think it's gonna rain for very long.
No, because it's Florida. There's also food.
There is food.
There is food, and we always have food, and I can't believe we've waited this long.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
cool in here.
It is so nice. I think that it does make a huge difference when you put yourself in the same boat as the other person.
Come on, Ziggy.
I think that really helps, right? Because you're not ascribing something to one half and not the other.
Yeah.
Well, it's so soothing in here, just in general,
It is.
isn't it?
Yes. This is so Abby.
Right?
This
It's so Abby.
What, my house or
Yes,
the,
Yes,
so
all of
or
it.
the salad?
Well, the salad's beautiful,
Yes,
and here
it is.
and I come
When I
in.
was laughing, you were like fancy, and I'm like, well, I own that.
No, well,
Hold
Right,
on, do they
and-
see? They can't see.
They
Like I
can see,
can't
wait.
see. I'm like, give you a
Look at
Capri
the
salad.
salad. It's a Capri salad. You can't have any
I
guys.
saw
Sorry.
that when I saw that, I was like, oh, fancy one. Now I'm like, okay, we're gonna jump out with you making a Capri salad. So then when it comes back to my house, what the hell now? I got to make something.
Yeah, well, wait.
That's not what it's
Yeah,
about.
wait,
You do
and
Sarahca,
just so
I'll
you
do
know,
Abby.
You
I
know,
can't help myself.
Dawn, true to form, brings, packaged processed foods because that's what I do.
And I cook.
Which Abby
I cook.
could not
So I am-
help herself with, and then pour it
Oh my
into a little
God.
bowl and put this on a plate because that's who I am.
Right, and I'm like, here's a Publix bag with some blueberry applesauce.
Listen, I got some paper plates.
I have ice cream and I have alcohol.
Alcohol.
Okay,
I
which kind
could
of
use some
alcohol? I have all
alcohol.
kinds of alcohol. What can you
I
have?
could use some alcohol too.
I have wine. I
I
have vodka.
You have white
I
wine?
have-
You have white?
if it's
Because I'm
cold.
turning into my mother. Red wine gives me heartburn. It's just another
So,
insult
but
to getting
I
older.
wanted to put this point in. You were speaking earlier, it's like that you're looking at the actions.
I have Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, I'll take that. You were saying you
Yep,
were looking at the actions of this person to see, in the past, was it something? And I just want to say that even your actions, I know we're trying to find some ways to say I'll always be there for you, but I just want to put the focus things by the people just doing them. And so many ways to say something, yeah, which is important. We definitely should put thought and conversation into this, because so many times I think we just all say stuff without even thinking it through. But I want to really say that just be there for your friend, because you
Well,
love her.
I will be there as much as I can be there, but I think at this point I am not a welcome person there, because it's a relationship and not just my friend.
But I think that you're ascribing that to, I think you're putting a lot on a text that was abrupt.
But then there hasn't been any follow-up either.
Yeah.
But again, that goes, how long has it been?
2 days.
Again, her mother just died a couple of weeks ago. 2 days is nothing in grief time.
Well, but the other person never reached out, so I'm going to assume that the other person knows darn well what they intended, and so I'm serving small amounts just so that it stays cold, and I am willing to hop up.
Oh, no,
and
that's
grab some more
plenty,
in a
thank you.
moment.
And I don't know, and I think back, I don't know, maybe you and I talked about the time, or you and me, Sarahca, I can't remember, but I feel like, I know for sure,
Mhm.
in the weeks and months after Jean died, I had a limit of, and I learned this very quickly, one thing a day that I could manage. Like, if I had to call the bank or go to the insurance agent, that took everything I had. And for the rest of the day, I could do basically nothing except watch SVU reruns. I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't text. It just took everything out of me.
Okay, I want to say something, and I don't want to be my higher self and my better self when I say it. I want to say that I feel like I got a slap in the face because I was trying to respect, when the person said she doesn't want to hear from anybody, she doesn't want to
Okay,
text or
so it
call.
was 2 slaps.
And
and
then-
okay,
and
right, I
then-
forgot about that.
Right, because
Right,
oh,
well, it
you've
was
been hard,
3
you've
actually,
been
or
hard,
4.
it's hard to see you, and I'm like,
Right, it was 4 things, so yeah,
I mean, it
okay.
was. I thought that was kind of brutal.
It was brutal. It was brutal.
I thought that
And
was
here's
brutal.
to us, here's to the Holy Trinity,
Woo!
and lovely food and camaraderie and
Friendship.
Yes.
Friendship. With all its complications, it's worth it.
yes.
I was just telling a friend of mine, when I flew up to Atlanta, speaking of friendship, I went for the conference, which it was good, but my business partner, who is also a friend of mine, she's going through a really tough time with her in her marriage.
Mhm.
And we literally linked up, and then it was tears and it was crying.
Oh,
So I didn't spend a lot of time at the conference. A lot of my time was spent just riding around, talking to her, eating, sitting on the stoop, talking. And I realized that I was blessed first to be in a position to help a friend, another woman
yes.
go through something, even though I know first she's my friend, so she paid for the trip completely. The business paid for the trip for me to come out, which was a blessing in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But then to know that, okay, this is someone who's going through something. And I know because I haven't seen her in years. We went to middle school together.
Wow.
And it was my first time seeing her, but we've just been in
Oh, that's
conversation, talking,
cool.
and different things. And I was in a space where I was like, I know how you're feeling. Not because I know what it feels like to have a marriage, but I know what it feels like to not know what to do, how you're feeling,
yes.
and everything. And then I told her, I said, we were at the hotel at the end of the night, and we were laying in bed, and she was like, you all right? I said, I just realized that adulthood is ghetto as fuck. Like, this is like the
That
shit
needs
we
to
got
be-
to navigate.
Oh my God, that needs to be a book title right there.
Like,
Adulthood is ghetto as fuck.
Like,
yes, it is.
we're sitting here thinking how to talk to men and have relationships and like, it was so much easier when it was like,
Oh my God, it was so much easier.
you wear my jacket, send you a note, do you like me, yes or no, circle. Like, this shit was simple. Now we got to communicate. We got to talk and feel our way through this, and that's really what it is. Like,
So much
it's
harder.
the complications of
Oh, we complicated it. Could be as simple as circle yes. You don't eat tomato. Is that what it is?
I don't. I grew them with my father for years.
Do you eat bell peppers? Because I usually put roasted bread.
I do eat
I
peppers.
eat food.
Oh, good for you.
However you put that.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up, planting tomatoes with my dad every year, Jersey tomatoes, right?
Right.
And fishing with them in the Mansquarm
And
River.
you're allergic.
I don't eat fish. I don't like it, and I don't like tomatoes.
Interesting. I think they're so good on a Capri salad, though.
But I still like growing tomatoes, and I still like going fishing.
Okay, so there's these little green right here
Mm-hmm.
with pesto sauce. It's so good.
Mm.
I'm gonna dip into that.
It's delicious.
Is that good?
I try to be mindful for dessert. These are really good. Well, if you like that kind of thing. I love these, but I know not everybody does.
I'm sure they're.
Did you make your own salad dressing?
It's just olive oil and vinaigrette and salt and pepper and the reduction.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I promise you that while we talk about all of these friendships and different things, like, can we just sit and feel like this is like a movie?
It is.
Like,
It
it's
feels
like
like
a
a movie.
movie.
It does. It feels like a movie. And you have a movie set house, by the way. It does. It all feels like perfect.
Well, thank you.
It's lovely.
So
It is lovely.
this is a gratitude moment.
Yes, it is.
Gratitude.
It is a gratitude moment.
Be thankful
I'm
for what
putting
you
it in my heart.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh,
I know, me
grateful.
too. I am grateful too.
Yeah.
I really am. It's awesome. Mm. Soul satisfying.
It is. Like,
Wine's good.
I had to sneak a bottle of wine last night because the baby was sleeping. So I'm enjoying all of this.
Mm. Me
I
too.
think we can kind of agree that Abby should make us.
Oh, totally. You might have just been elected.
Yeah.
As what?
So-
Well, if you come here.
If we come here, will you do this?
Mhm.
Because, that would do it.
I'll probably do more because this is what I happen to have.
Oh my God. I just threw this together.
Well, I did. You just happened to have been. I just went to Costco.
Oh my God. I was not a PTA person, which should not surprise anybody, but I was a SAC committee person because I just like what the SAC committees do as opposed
What
to
is the
PTA.
SAC?
SAC is the school advisory committee.
Okay.
And they are charged with, they actually write each school improvement plan. And by charter, by state charter, they have to have a particular distribution of business people from the community, community leaders, parents, and teachers. And so it's really cool because the idea of SAC is that it, serves the whole community the school is in. So
They did that. Okay, I know what it is. When I worked at a school, we used to have these once a year.
yes, so we're having these problems, of course, getting people to attend, right? Like you always do. And I was like, what about food? And they're like, food. And I'm like, look, nobody turns down food. So,
Especially good food.
right, and I, we're school things, so we don't have any money really, and I went to Panera, told them what we were doing, and he said, yeah, we give away everything every night. Just tell me what night, and we'll reserve it for you. And so once a month I would go, and the first time, I'll never forget, it was 2 of those like hefty lawn and leaf bags full of all the baked goods that they didn't sell that day. And I was like, oh my God. And he threw like some cream cheese and, other stuff in there. And same thing I did with the Civic Association when having it at that wine shop because she said, because I'm ready, fire, aim, right? And I went in knocking on the business doors saying I'm going to start the Civic Association. And Teresa, who used to own Bespoke Cellar, she goes, well, where are you going to have the meetings? And I'm like, oh, I didn't get that far yet. Like, I really had no idea what I was doing. And she goes, do you want to have it here? And I was like, oh, I'd love to have it here. So every month we met at the wine shop and she would put out wine and cheese, complimentary for everybody. And Ken Keachel, when he was county commissioner,
right? I need this for waves. I'm just like thinking, well, I could totally get them to donate for waves, right? And then we could have it somewhere.
Yes. And he was county commissioner at that time. He'd heard about the Civic Association. He came to a meeting. He took me aside afterwards and he goes, can I just tell you that this is without a doubt by far the best Civic Association meeting I've ever attended in my entire life. And I'm like, of course it is. It's in a wine shop. Like, what's not to like?
Well,
but people will come to things like that won't come to like a civic thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we solved the fact that food must be amongst us.
Yeah.
In order for conversation
Must
and
have.
solutions to
Must
happen.
Speaking of,
have.
I have some goat cheese, but I didn't put it out because I already
I like
the
goat
other
cheese.
goat. Mm-hmm. Put out the goat cheese.
Bring on the goat cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, the goat cheese. It's good.
But well, being Greek, we didn't do anything without food. I assume that black families are very similar, right? There's
Black
gotta be food.
Listen, I promise you, I'm thinking like I'm getting ready to have Omega it's turning 1. So I'm gonna have this birthday party. I mean, I'm not gonna have a big blowout with kids, especially right now with everything
Yes,
going on.
yes. And he's 1. Like,
And
it's not
he's
like,
turning 1. So the party is really for the adults
yes.
at this point. In the pictures. So I had already said like I'm gonna cook some things that I want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, our families are big on making a lot of food because the next day we don't need to worry about what we eat. That eliminates, any
Right, because you're tired and you're cleaning up and you need leftovers.
Leftovers. You need to get at least a day and a half if you could. You
Yeah.
could.
Sounds like Thanksgiving for me, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
Actually, I cook like that most of the time. I'll cook for 2 days because if I'm going to cook, because I get I can't help myself. I get a little elaborate when I do stuff. So, yeah.
I'm the cook in my family for Thanksgiving. And it's really like a whole ritual. It requires wine.
Yep.
All of my Thanksgiving and holiday cooking requires wine
Nice.
because the food won't taste right if I'm not drinking. Like,
Oh, I love that.
like, if I'm setting the vibe and, getting myself to the point, because I enjoy cooking. When I cook, I actually enjoy cooking. So,
Me too.
I have to be like in a space where I'm like
Like a zone.
enjoying it.
I hate
Like,
cooking.
I don't want to feel like I'm here. Like last night I made this double cheeseburger with Swiss cheese, and my daughter was like, "Who put Swiss cheese on a burger?" I was like, "Me."
It's delicious.
And when I'm cooking, it's like an adult moment. It's a getaway for me. It's an adult moment. So
And for me, I think what it was 20 years of planning meals. And I'm just done. I did bake cookies with Emma last Saturday, so do not say that I'm not a grandma.
I'm not a baker though.
I told you I couldn't help myself.
Oh my God. Oh,
I know.
that's
I
beautiful.
can't help it. I cannot help it.
Really?
You have to
It's
show
just
that
my
to
hand.
you have to show that to the camera. It's so pretty.
I can't help it. This was just happened to happen. I can't help it.
You know what I was thinking about? I don't know if your parents were like this, but I thought about this recently. my mother, my aunts, all of them, right? You could go to their house and they would be like, let's make spanakopita, let's make a cheesecake, let's make a whatever.
Well, that's
And
big
then-
words.
And and they would open that fucking refrigerator and every ingredient you would ever need for any goddamn dish was in that
Did they
fridge.
have pre-made phyllo?
They would buy the phyllo. But the
Phyllo,
thing is,
right.
like, they never like didn't have an ingredient, and shit never went bad. And that I never understood. I guess it's because they were constantly entertaining and doing things, but I had to like find a because I couldn't deal with Publix, because I hate that too. But when I was, Emma had asked, could I come over and could we bake cookies after writing Saturday? And I was like, sure, So I'm looking in the recipes and I'm like, oh no, that's one thing in there that I don't have. I'm not doing it. And I found just a basic. Yeah. Well, no, but it was like chocolate chip cookies. I don't have chocolate chips. That's not happening. So I found a really simple sugar cookie recipe and we made them and it was great. But it really did occur to me like their fridges and pantries were just stocked and shit never expired. And that's a gift to be able to do that.
My great grandmother had a garden about an acre and a half. That she
Well, and didn't you have farmers? A watermelon farm, right?
Watermelon. My grandfather was a watermelon harvester. My great grandmother had this like an acre and a half of land that she grew everything from collard greens to peas to beans, everything. And it was like when we went out there, it was punishment for the weekend. Like if you got kicked out of school,
Right.
you were in the field.
Right.
If it's the weekend, and go down there and help your grandma in the garden. And she would literally be out there at 5:00 in the morning. And she was old. My memory of my great grandmother is that she's always been old. Like she's always worked on a cane.
I had an uncle like that.
She had a cane. She was always old. That's my memory of her, but she was always mobile and moving around. And she had a shed that would have this deep freezer that's probably as long as this cabinet here and probably as deep as from that line down, full of meat and vegetables and preserves, fruit preserves, because she would make these jars of jelly preserve and stuff because she's a great cook. We never not had food. Thanksgiving would be for the community because it would be tables on tables put together where people would come out, because my family was a family of harvesters, so a lot of the workers wouldn't be home for the holidays.
Right.
So my family would have to feed them. So
were they migrant workers?
They were migrant workers. And they would travel with my grandfather from these different places, and they would house them, give them a boarding room, and feed them.
Yep.
I promised my grandmother them at least 5 turkeys are cooked, hams, like everything was done in surplus.
Right.
To where there was no one going to walk away or come across this hungry and not be able to eat. So food is a huge part of my family and how we show Southern hospitality
and how you show love.
Yeah.
I think that that's a big part of of most people. I mean, if you think about cultures, we always tend to gather around food, right? And so for me,
that's funny.
Also having food, well, Greeks, of course, but I mean, having food, providing food, having something to offer your guests,
That's interesting. And I think of this, and forgive any British people that I know, but I'm thinking of cultures that.
But they do tea.
But I'm right. I'm thinking of cultures that don't center around food, and it's hard to think of one. And my first thought was the Brits, because they are not known for their cuisine. But you're right, they do tea. Yeah,
And they're
I can't think of a
always
culture.
offering tea.
Right, I can't think of a culture that
doesn't.
doesn't. So speaking of old, right? That's another thing. I do think about this. our ancestors, right? Like 2 generations ago, let's say, even one maybe. They were just so freaking tough. And I can't help but feel like we are just not like they were. Like they were. Man, we're tough in different ways.
Get softer.
I think they do because life gets easier, right? Technology advances, what have you. And I don't think that's curmudgeon. Every generation is just worse. I don't think it's that. I'm having this thought for the first time. I think it's because the world improves and makes your life easier. But I worry about that.
So there's this story that
before I forget. So this was my Theo, we called him. He was my father's cousin's father. And I remember thinking, like, what was he like when I was younger? And I'm like, oh, he was old. Because I figured out one day he was 80 when I was born. So yes, of course, right? He lived to be 108. It was amazing. And I can remember seeing him at like 106 dancing at a cousin's wedding. It was oh my God, I loved him. But yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry. Food.
No, actually lost the thought.
I told you
sorry. Generations and tough and
oh no,
I told you about the crack and you didn't listen.
You sure did. My apologies. I will.
about the what?
There's crack here. This is
crack.
so good with the it's so good with the cheese.
Thank you.
So my grandmother told this story to my mom, and she then told me. While I was sitting on the porch, we were peeling potatoes because she was going to make potato salad. And she was using a knife and I was using potato peeler, right? And while I'm looking at what she's doing, she tells me, she's like, there's this story.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
There's this story of this family that had this tradition to every time they would bake a turkey for Thanksgiving, they would cut one of the legs off and put it in.
I know where this is going.
Right, so
I might know.
I'm
gonna see.
It was just
Wait, I know
something
with
that
the ham.
did all of the time. They just
I know the
cut
ham
off
story.
one leg of the turkey, and then one of the younger people in the younger generation asked, "Why do we always cut off one of the legs of turkey?" And the mom was like, it's tradition. His grandma did it, and this person did it. And the grandmother who was in the kitchen says, well, the only reason we did it was that we didn't have a pot big enough to put the turkey in.
Yep. It's the same ham story. They would cut off the ends of the ham, and
because they didn't have a pan big enough. Yes.
Right. So then, we look at him. I'm hearing this story while I'm using a potato peeler that's easier for me than using a knife. And my mom's using a knife because she's used to using a knife. And it's not wrong because you both get it done. It's just one creates an easier way to do it. I think the issue
we don't rethink things.
Yeah. I think the issue becomes when we're just stuck on tradition with doing things and thinking that this is the only way to do it.
Yes.
Versus we're supposed to be trying to make our life easier. Like, why are we going to just keep doing something because we've been doing it?
Which I think is a valid point, although I think the counterpoint to that is I feel a lot, especially now in the world, that anything that is how we used to do it is almost like de facto bad, which I think is equally dangerous.
Yeah.
And that concerns me.
Yeah, go for the crack, girl.
It is good.
I'm saying.
It is good.
So good, Abby. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I like to think we solve all of life issues while we meet.
Well, we certainly discuss them. And we get different perspectives, which is what this is really about, right?
And we get food.
Oh, we get food. I love the blueberries on the goat cheese. The goat cheese would be better if it had like softened a little bit.
Oh,
But
it's so
not
good.
stopping me. I'm just saying. And I like it on the pear.
On the pear.
On the pear. I like it on the pear.
And the pear is nice too. I like cheese and fruit together.
Oh, so do I. That's good
So
stuff.
good. But yeah, no, 20 years of kids and planning meals, and we used to, we still do the holidays and everything, of course, but I did just at some point become exhausted by it. And sometimes I think, I'm going to go back to cooking like on a regular basis. But I bought a little grill. It's awesome. It's like $20. And it folds up flat to like 1.5 inches. It's like an X shape when you put it out, like a dish drain type thing. You know what I mean? And then you fold it back up, and it takes up 1.5 inches of space, and it goes right back in the box. And when you open it like this, there's the grates that you put on top. So you put the charcoal in, then you put the grate. And you make a burger or a steak or whatever, but it takes up no room. And when you're done, you just close it up and put it away, which I love. And so I did do that for myself recently, and that was nice. That was gratifying.
So what did you cook?
A steak.
Oh.
I do love steak.
I have this big grill that my late cousin, he was very close to. He was somebody who taught me how to barbecue.
Oh.
And when I moved into the house, he helped me move into the house and the furniture and everything. Just very close. But he was like a protector, because like if I needed him for anything, he was somebody I could call. If I was having an issue or something,
nice.
He would show up, and he's like, I don't even want to know what she did. I'm here to protect her.
That's
I don't
awesome.
care. So
To have somebody like that is amazing.
yes, and he brought this when I moved. He wanted me to cook, and that's how Porch Life started, because he loved my cooking so much that he would pay for the meat and for me to get all the food. And he always brought it in like $100 worth of meat, because he would tell people to come by and get a plate. It was just a complete vibe he created. And
that's awesome.
That sounds awesome.
he wanted the barbecue one time, so he went and brought me this grill, this big drum grill that they make, and he showed me how to grill. And that was like the last thing he did for me before he passed away. But it was just he was just so like, he was a for sure person.
Yeah.
Like he was for sure. Like,
I have a cousin like that on my dad's side, and we might not
can
talk
you pass me? I want to try.
I was wondering when you were going to hit that.
Months or years,
working out my strategy on how to try it.
Months or years can pass, and we'll get on the phone, and it's like we saw each other yesterday. And I just love that. And those relationships are so rare and so valuable.
Him and my mom were very close. Like they would talk on the phone every day, all day while he's at work. They were so close, and it was so hurtful when he passed away.
What did he pass away from?
He had an accident at work where he cut his leg.
Oh my God.
And then he went to the hospital. They stitched him up and everything, and then he went home. And then when he went home, they ended up calling like a few days later. It was like saying he got rushed to the hospital. He wasn't breathing, so I think it was a blood clot, because they gave him the thing to put on his leg to keep the blood
like a compression type thing.
Yeah, so
you really never know.
Yeah,
you do not know.
It was
yesterday,
tough, but
how old was he?
Oh, he was young, because he had to be in his middle to late 40s. But him and my mom were like super close.
Yeah.
He was that person that I would call if I needed something. And he's the type of person for me that when I know I can call you because I need something, I won't. Because I want you to know that I'm only calling you because I really need it. Like, I'm not just gonna.
You don't want to abuse the privilege.
No. He was just a good person for me.
Oh, that's a shame. But you really don't know from one day to the next. And they tell us, right, live every day as if it's your last. And that's great in theory. It's very hard to do.
Oh, that's good.
It's better just with the pear, I'm telling you, because that cracker interrupts the flavor.
No, see,
it
crackers belong on everything.
Oh,
I will die on that hill. Oh, nothing is not made better by a cracker, except maybe steak.
I think I was telling a friend of mine, I said,
Thank you. And then that's a cut me off after this because I have no tolerance. Thank you.
butter is that thing for me.
Oh.
She's pretending to drink. She's not drinking.
Butter is the
Butter.
best.
Butter makes everything
Well, it
better.
does. Fat and sugar make everything better. We make these Greek cookies. They're
Oh.
most people know them as Mexican wedding cakes.
Oh.
Although my mother would go wild when I said Mexican wedding cakes. Excuse me, it's George. But it's like a pound of butter and 2 dozen cookies or whatever. Hi, sweetheart.
Do we need more pear?
No, Mom,
Yes,
how are you?
I was just thinking that. Oh my God. Just thinking that.
Okay, what was that like? Oh, well, there you go.
How do we know when we end the broadcast?
I think we just have to end it. And that pears are super sweet.
Where's your Costco? Goat cheese is actually Trader Joe's. I'm sorry, the crackers.
Okay, I'm trying it your way.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I put some more cheese on it. Yeah, I'm telling you, life is weird.
But
And
it's
wonderful.
It's, I was just gonna say it's beautiful at the same time.
Mhm.
Like it is.
It is. I could do without people disappointing me, but you know what? It's part of your process, part of your learning. Am I right? Did you like it better with just the pear, or you like it better, or both?
I like both.
I like it with the pear because I think it interrupts. Like the cracker needs to be a little bit more delicate than that. That's cracker's too.
Texture.
It's too coarse. It needs to be a more refined cracker.
That goat cheese is good though.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I just love
When
cheese.
Trader Joe, me too. My kids always, when I go by, she's like, "Mommy, why y'all buying cheese?" I'm trying to figure out why y'all not excited.
That's right.
Cheese, like
Mhm.
I love cheese. Love cheese.
Mhm. The boys are like really wanting some of this cheese too. Let's see if I can get him a little piece here. A little piece. Sorry, I have to make it a little bit less seasoned for them. Isn't that terrible?
Look, that's what I do with my son, who wants to eat everything off my plate now.
Right.
Everything, like nothing.
How's he doing with that?
He's doing good. I think it's more so me because I'm trying to be hesitant of what I let him try and give time so
Yeah.
I can figure out the allergies.
Yeah, if there's any allergies. I know. I started Samantha with pumpkin. I remember they told me to give her orange foods first. So she had pumpkin squash was her first thing besides milk. I have a picture of it.
He's pretty good now. Like he loves grits.
I love grits. Oh, I hear him.
He
love
loves
grits.
grits.
I don't know why people don't like grits. Like,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I think it's if you're not Southern, you don't really like grits.
Yeah,
It's so weird. What's not to like?
I'm trying to figure out too because I make good grits, a good shrimp and grits. Oh my god.
A good shrimp and grits. Yeah. I don't eat meat anymore. Like I don't eat red meat.
Mm-hmm.
But so some places will put bacon or sausage or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Now, are we talking bacon, Abby, or turkey slices?
and shrimp and grits.
No, because I have a friend of mine who's like turkey bacon. I'm like, there's no such thing, sweetie. That's
There is
turkey.
turkey bacon,
No,
but
but it's a slither of turkey. It's
Yeah.
fried.
yeah,
It's not
it's
bacon.
not real, but they call it that
That's what they call
to
it.
make
It's
you
like-
feel better for
Yeah.
not eating bacon.
It's an illusion.
And I make a meatloaf. So I make meatloaf. And it's so funny because I've been making it for years, and every single time Scott's asked me, he's like, "Is this meat?" And I'm like, "No, Scott, it's turkey or chicken." Sometimes I make it with chicken. Usually turkey. I make a mean meatloaf with turkey.
I make a good meatloaf too.
I'm sure you do.
I make a good meatloaf.
I make a relish kind of thing for it to put over the top.
relish.
Kind of thing. It's not real pickly, but it's got. Well, I use ketchup.
I
you
use
know, a lot of
ketchup,
people
yeah.
ketchup. So I make like a mix of peppers and onions and whatever, and I cook that and I cook it down and I put ketchup in it, and it makes like a relish, and that's what I put over the top of my meatloaf, and I save some for gravy. It is so good.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Fancy much.
Well, no, it's just good. I just like good food. Look at all my cookbooks.
Oh, you real.
Mm-hmm.
And
that folder right there's got like recipes I've saved over the years off the internet. The green one.
The recipe keeper.
Yeah. I got some good ones in there.
I'm not a big recipe person. Like I'll see it and then I'll make it. Like if I can see you make it, I'll make it.
We're sisters. Like, so I will totally, what I'll do is if I'm like, I want to make, I don't know, like beef stroganoff. So I'll read 10 recipes and I'll be like, okay. So maybe I'll look at one, but then I'll remember the other ones and I'll put it all together. And like, I'll just make up, but just have the basics in place and then I go. And that's why I don't bake, because I'm too free. I'm like, well, let's add a little bit of this. I like, let's add a little bit of this. Let's that doesn't work with cakes and cookies. I mean, I have baked, but I like cooking savory foods better. What is it that you do? He's my rescue. Well, he's also a rescue, but I've only had him for like 2 months.
He adores you.
Oh, he does. I think it's the breed, but it's also that he's probably happy, But he was a hoarder's dog. So I don't know what his experience was. I just know that he was a surrender in lieu of cruelty charges. But he just, everywhere I go and anything, he's like stares at me like I'm the most wonderful thing in the world. We all need somebody to look at us that way, right? And he does. He looks at me like I'm the most wonderful thing in this whole wide world. Do. What is it? Do you smell anything good? Because you weren't eating anything I gave you.
And his name is Ziggy.
Ziggy.
Oh.
Ziggy. Like Ziggy Stardust?
Ziggy Marley.
Or Ziggy Marley. We don't know which way he goes with his musical taste yet, but he might play guitar. He might be into reggae. We're not sure. I just call him Ziggy Doo. Doo! Ziggy Doo! Doo doo! And then this is my boy Charles. Charles has been with me over 10 years now, probably about 11.
Big boy.
Yeah, he wasn't always this big. He's just gotten a little bigger. But he's my boy. He's my chill. I call him a new breed of dog, the Chihuahua, because he's so chill. Unless there's food, then he gets excited.
Me too. We have that in common.
I like cheese too, Mom. Give me some cheese. Waka waka. I don't know how to turn that off. I'm thinking we should probably end it. Should we end our video?
I don't care.
Everything okay?
Everything's okay. Maybe that's a nice place to end it. Everything's okay. We're grateful. Thank you. I know people asked me if this was going to be available later, and to degree of technical knowledge. I think it is. So, bye, and we'll see you next week. And thank you. Anybody want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye.
That was neat, Dawne.
It was.